Why would a Grammy-winning artist with Beyoncé and Kanye on speed dial ghost his fans for 7 years, only to come back and bomb one of the biggest stages in music history? Frank Ocean's Coachella set wasn't just bad. It was chaotic, late, awkward, and canceled halfway through his headlining weekend. No new music, no proper stage, no apology, just vibes, and not the good kind. But here's the kicker. Frank planned it that way, and when you dig deeper, this so-called musical genius might just be the most manipulative artist of his generation. And yeah, nobody wants to say it out loud, but someone has to. Because what if the real Frank Ocean isn't a mysterious genius, but a professional escape artist who figured out how to never play by the rules while still cashing the checks? Let's talk about the myth, the mastermind, and the mess behind Frank Ocean. Frank Ocean wasn't always Frank Ocean. Born Christopher Edwin Breaux in New Orleans, he was just a quiet kid with a head full of melodies and a serious thing for storytelling. But Hurricane Katrina literally washed away everything he knew and pushed him west, straight into the belly of the beast, Los Angeles. Now here's where it gets wild. He didn't come in with a label deal or flashy connections. Nah, Frank was sleeping on couches and hustling in fast food spots. But somehow, he wormed his way into writing sessions with Justin Bieber, Beyoncé, and Brandy. Yeah, the same guy who now disappears for years at a time was once ghostwriting for pop royalty just to pay the bills. But what makes him different? While most writers were begging for credits, Frank was building a secret vault. Songs that sounded nothing like radio hits, but felt like therapy sessions wrapped in melody. He eventually linked with Tyler, the Creator, and joined Odd Future. And that's when things really cracked open. Frank dropped his now legendary mixtape Nostalgia Ultra in 2011 without label permission. Just leaked it online. No rollout, no budget. And the internet? They lost it. Suddenly, this quiet songwriter nobody knew became the voice of a generation. And Def Jam had no idea what to do with him. And that's just the beginning. So let's talk about Nostalgia Ultra. That mixtape wasn't just Frank's coming out party. It was a musical middle finger to the industry. He dropped it for free without warning, using uncleared samples from artists like Coldplay and the Eagles. And let me tell you, the Eagles were not amused. Don Henley even threatened to sue him over the use of Hotel California in American Wedding. But Frank, he didn't flinch. His response? Basically, there's no money to be made off this, so sue me if you want. Just know I'm not changing a damn thing. Now imagine being a label executive at Def Jam. You sign this guy thinking he's your next big R&B act, and he turns around and goes rogue, releases a bootleg tape without your permission, ignores commercial formulas, and still blows up. Def Jam panicked. They didn't know whether to punish him or promote him. Meanwhile, Frank made it clear he didn't need them. He wasn't about chasing hits. He was building legacy. And when he finally did agree to drop a proper album under the label, it came with a twist. In 2012, he released Channel Orange, his first full-length studio album. It was smooth, abstract, and full of songs that didn't sound like anything else on the radio. It featured Andre 3000, John Mayer, and was nominated for 6 Grammys. But behind the scenes, Frank was already plotting his escape. See, Def Jam thought they finally had him locked into the system, but Frank used them to release Channel Orange, then immediately fulfilled his contract with a throwaway visual album called Endless, just so he could ditch the label and drop Blonde independently the very next day. And that album made him millions. Let that sink in. Frank finessed one of the biggest record labels in the world, twice, and walked away richer and freer than ever. But his rebellious streak wasn't over yet. Okay, let's get into the messy stuff. Because while Frank looks like the soft-spoken, artsy loner, he's also been at the center of some low-key beefs and controversies that the mainstream media just doesn't talk about. Let's start with Def Jam. After that whole Blonde heist, you'd think labels would be fighting to sign him again. Nope. Word in the industry is nobody wants to get franked. He's basically labeled as brilliant but unmanageable. Some execs even called him a creative liability. Yikes. And then there's Coachella 2023, the performance that turned the internet upside down. Fans waited 6 years for a live show. He shows up late, cancels the live stream last minute, performs sitting down, mumbles through half the set, and then bails on weekend 2 altogether. People were furious. Stagehands went on Reddit claiming Frank changed the entire stage setup last minute. Dancers rehearsed for weeks just to get cut hours before showtime. Some said it was due to an ankle injury. Others, they swear it was sabotage. Even festival organizers were blindsided. They had to scramble to replace him with Blink 182. Blink 182. But here's the kicker. Frank still got paid, reportedly $4 million, for showing up late, giving a half show, and ghosting the second one completely. Tell me that's not a flex and a scandal. And don't forget his long-running tension with Tyler, the creator, and the Odd Future crew. While Tyler's been open about their drifting friendship, fans noticed Frank's absence from reunions and shows. No drama ever confirmed. But in the world of Frank Ocean, silence says everything, because every time he's pulled away, the drama has followed. And yet, he still won't explain anything. Why? So here's the real mystery. Why does Frank Ocean disappear like a ghost in the middle of his own success? No interviews, no tweets, no album teasers, just poof. After dropping Blonde in 2016, an album that was instantly hailed as a modern classic, he vanished. No tour, no press, no music, just the occasional Tumblr post or cryptic merch drop. Fans were starving. Frank, silent. People started asking, did something happen? Some blamed creative burnout. Others whispered about personal tragedy. Rumors swirled that he was dealing with depression or even industry PTSD. But Frank, he never confirmed anything. Instead, he fed the mystery. He'd pop up at fashion shows in Prada and Gucci, launch an obscure jewelry brand, host underground club nights in NYC, or appear in random photo shoots, then vanish again. It became his thing. Even when fans begged for a tour or any explanation, he never cracked. Not once. And that made people go even harder for him. See, most artists chase the algorithm. Frank Ocean withholds himself and somehow becomes more famous. He turns silence into strategy, because the less you say, the more people want to know. But was this mystique just branding, or was Frank actually running from something deeper? Now this is the part of the story that most people don't want to talk about. Behind all the silence, secrecy, and stunts, there's real pain. In 2020, Frank Ocean's younger brother, Ryan Bro, tragically passed away in a car crash at just 18 years old. And if you were wondering why Frank seemed to retreat even further after that, well, there's your answer. That loss hit hard. They were extremely close. Ryan was featured in Frank's early work and was often spotted backstage or in photos with him. When Ryan passed, Frank didn't say much publicly, but the grief was loud in his absence. Fans who were hoping for a Blonde follow-up started to realize this wasn't just another ghosting. It was a full-on emotional shutdown. And let's be honest, Frank's always poured heartbreak and loss into his lyrics. Whether it was Pink Plus White, Ivy, or Bad Religion, his songs ate. But losing his brother, that was different. That was real-life tragedy, not artistic metaphor. It shifted something in him. Since 2020, his output has slowed to a crawl. No albums, no public appearances, just whispers, vinyl re-releases, and maybe a hint of something coming. Maybe. Some fans feel abandoned. Others say he's protecting his peace. But either way, the shine of the mysterious genius started to feel darker. Because it's one thing to be reclusive for the art. It's another to be hiding from the world because it hurts too much to come back. And yet, he still hasn't said a word. So what is Frank Ocean actually doing in 2025? So what is Frank Ocean up to in 2025? And how much has this wild ride been worth? Let's dive in. Net worth. As of February 2025, Frank Ocean's net worth is estimated around $16 million, a number that might seem modest next to some superstar peers, but given his independent streak, it's impressive. Vinyl renaissance. Just this past June, he finally released Channel Orange on vinyl, a project he'd teased years ago. That drop, at around $69 for the 2x-LP set, sold out fast. Directorial debut? Guess what? He's shooting his first feature film right now in Mexico City. Produced by A24, it stars David Johnson and went into production earlier this year. Mysterious comeback hints. Giant billboards reading Kiki Boy 2025 popped up near Coachella grounds this spring, and fans discovered a cryptic Instagram tied to that handle. Pharrell even hinted in 2024 that Frank is still cooking new music. Potential collab buzz. Rumors have his name swirling with Rosalia, fans noting leaked studio sessions and social media nods. So here's the story so far. Frank Ocean's bank account is healthy, but not overblown, while his creative ambitions are more vivid than ever. After withdrawing for nearly a decade, he's re-emerging. First by resurrecting his vinyl past, now by directing a movie, and possibly gearing up for new music or collaboration. Forget the idea that Frank's in hiding. He's crafting his comeback on his own timeline, quietly shaping the next chapter of his career. Frank Ocean didn't just rewrite the rulebook, he shredded it, ghosted the room, and left us wondering if he was even playing the same game. Because maybe he's not a tortured genius. Maybe he's a mastermind who realized the ultimate power move is silence. No explanations, no apologies. Just art on his terms, and a legacy that keeps getting louder the quieter he gets. Frank Ocean may never give us another album, but somehow he already gave us everything.